landslide. The only black guy on the ballot, so don't even give me that noise. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Kelly. I'm going to dispense with the long bio and who I am and where I've been and what I've done. Most of you know that stuff anyway, except to say I'm an accidental political activist. I began in my backyard holding meetings during the Barack Obama presidency. I said, this isn't going so well. I got together with some of my black friends and we started inviting Republicans to come talk. And we started off with 20 or 30 people, and then we had 40 or 50, and then we had 60 and 70, and then we outgrew my backyard. I had to rent a hall, and that became the Rocky Mountain Black Tea Party. And I rode that wave to the Rocky Mountain Black Conservatives, which is my 501c3. And I rode that wave to the vice chairmanship of the state party, served for one term and term limited myself, which I believe more people probably need to do, but stopped after 1 year and began my internship program, which Kevin mentioned, where we now send black American college students to Washington, D.C. to intern for Republicans. One of our hosts is Congressman Scott Tipton, who accepts an intern or two of ours every year. They have a tremendous experience. I hadn't planned on any of this. I'm just an accidental political activist. In fact, I said to my wife just the other day, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that I would become a political activist? And she said, well, the truth is, you aren't in my wildest dreams. I get no respect. I get no respect for no one whatsoever. But the wife of whom I speak is with me here tonight, my wife Renee of 26 years. Supported through this entire nightmare. You may recall in 2016 when the caucus rules changed in August. However, come caucus in March, the Trump people thought Trump got screwed and Ted Cruz had it handed to him and we got death threats and all that stuff. Stay by my side through all that stuff. We have 3 children, 2 of whom are here tonight. You already met. Our oldest is a lieutenant in the United States Air Force. Just a little bit more about me. I gotta walk around. I'm midlife in it. Bad. So we're right there right now, right? So our oldest is 23, and he's in Oklahoma. Our middle child is in her first year here at Colorado Mesa University. Our youngest is a freshman. And so we're right there. So this past Christmas, last month, month and a half ago. So this was the first year we had kids come back. That had never happened to me before. So last Christmas break, Christmas 2018, so our son got sent to Oklahoma by the Air Force in February. So he still lived in our home last Christmas, and our daughter was still in high school. So everybody was there. And then this last Christmas, just 6 weeks ago or whatever, the kids came back. One of them brought a girlfriend. So we got that going on now, right? So I'm midlifing it like a mofo, I tell you what. I'm not doing well with it. I'm really not. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nothing that a Corvette wouldn't take care of, but I'm at the place right now where we're running out of kids and next it's time to start getting old. It's time to start getting old. And I don't mean that in a negative kind of way, that's how it goes. So next we get to start working on getting old, and in some ways I'm looking forward to it, because I'm going to get me some payback. I am going to get some payback when I'm old. I'm putting all our kids on notice. I will be moving in. I'm moving in. The day is coming. I will be moving in. I'm actually looking forward to being crazy old 85-year-old grandpa who lives in the basement. Because I'm going to get some payback. You see, in fact, you know what I'm going to do? When I'm crazy 85-year-old grandpa who lives in the basement, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until the hottest day of the year. I'm talking middle of August, 97 degrees, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to come up out of the basement, onto the main level, open up all the doors to the house, open up every door to the house, and then I'm headed to the kitchen. And I'm going to open up that refrigerator and just stand there for hours. until there's icicles forming in my mustache and beard. And then, right when I'm on the verge of hypothermia, I'm going to declare at the very top of my lungs that there is nothing to eat in this house. I'm going to do it. That's no joke.
Preach, brother.
Now, it may sound like I'm bagging on my kids, but the truth is I love them so much. I absolutely adore my children. I could not imagine my life without my children. And in a way that's different but the same, I also could not imagine my country without President Donald J. Trump. I'm going to spend the rest of this evening telling you why. So, we all know that we dodged the bullet in 2016 when Hillary Clinton did not win that election. Of course, we all know that. But I'm going to break down for you the reasons why. Because of course, Barack Obama was far left of left. He did a good job of presenting himself as a moderate, but he governed a very far left, and that's his ideology, that's his core. Hillary Clinton is equally left, if not even more so. So had she won that election, we would have had at least 12 years of hard left presidency, as many as 16. But we didn't get that, thank the Lord, because of Donald J. Trump. Well, what I'm going to go into and talk to you about tonight is there are 6 things that happen when liberals govern in unchecked fashion. When liberals run everything, and there are places in the country and in the world where that's true, and they run everything, in some cases, for decades, there are 6 things that will always happen. This is inarguable. We can't argue, and people will argue, whether or not these 6 things are good or bad. There are people who would say, yes, that's what happened, but that's a good thing. I don't think any of them are in this room. But there are 6 things that will always happen when liberals gain absolute control of government. And had we got 12 or 16 years, this already started under Obama, but had we gotten 12 or 16 years, if Hillary had won in November of 16, we'd be almost France by the end of that time. 6 things that happen when liberals assume control. Number 1, taxes go up. Period. Inarguable. You look at all the places in the country and all the places in the world that are governed absolutely by liberals, and I use liberals instead of Democrats because they're not called Democrats everywhere. Taxes are sky high. Look around our country. Where are the taxes through the roof? New Jersey, New York, California. Where are the taxes under control? Oklahoma, Wyoming, Texas. One of the, if not the most liberal candidate for the Democrat nomination right now is the former mayor of New York City, Michael Bloomberg. I was on Mayor Bloomberg's website. This is February 1st. On February 1st, just a few days ago, he uploaded he had his webmaster upload to his website his new tax plan. So this is verbatim off of his website. I'm not changing a word. You can go there right now. I think it's Mike for President or something like that, .com. February 1st, just a few days ago, 7 points to his new plan. Number 1, raise rates for high-income taxpayers. Number 2, tax capital income more equitably. Who knows what that means? Number 3, impose a new tax on the very rich. Number 4, reform the estate tax. Mike will lower the estate tax threshold so that more estates are taxed. Number 5, close loopholes. Who knows what that means? Number 6, make businesses pay their fair share. Who knows what that means? Number 7, equip the IRS to collect many hundreds of billions in taxes owed but never paid. Those are his 7 plans. That's what he's selling. Wow. And if you look at any of their websites, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, go right through it, they're all the same. They only raise taxes. I have looked high and low around this country for any Democrat, anywhere, at any level, let alone at the federal, who is in favor of lowering the tax burden on their constituents. I can't find one. Not one. Here in Colorado, we have something called the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Amen. table law. It's a good law. It's a good law. I mean, there's a formula and what have you to go through how it all works, but long short is if our government takes in more money than our government needs to spend, then we get some of our money back. Well, what did Jared Polis and the Democrat legislature in this country try to do last year? Repeal it. Keep from giving us back our own money so they can spend it. So when liberals are in control, taxes go up. And as I go through these 6 things, by the way, as I go through these 6 items, think to yourselves, who does this more affect? The wealthy or the poor? Okay, so they love to sing about how they're the party of the poor. Well, that's true. For the Democrats so love the poor, they make millions more of them. So think about these things. Who is more damaged by their policies, the rich or the poor? Number 1, taxes go up. Number 2, the second thing that happens whenever liberals are in rock solid control, things get banned. They love to ban things. It's a deal with them. They ban whatever they want to ban because they can't get it done at the ballot box. They can't get it done through the voice of the people, so they normally do this through some sort of executive action. Presidential executive order, mayoral or governors, whatever, just issuing decrees. Through executive fiats, they ban things. Speaking of Michael Bloomberg, so the current mayor of the city of New York is Bill de Blasio, who is inarguably, well, maybe arguably, but he is one of the, if not the most liberal mayor of the United States of America today, certainly of a major city. And he succeeded Michael Bloomberg, who was to the left of Bill de Blasio. I have in my hand a list of items that those 2 men have banned in New York City. There's an entire website set up so that you can go to bannedbybloomberg.com. There are entire websites. I'm not making this up. There are people who literally run websites and try to keep up with all the things that these people ban. So in New York City, these things have either been banned or attempted to be banned. They're just not there yet. Smoking in commercial establishments. Smoking in public spaces. Cigarette sales to those under 21. Sales of flavored tobacco products. Smoking e-cigarettes in public spaces. Cigarette in-store displays. Cars in Times Square. Cars from driving in bike lanes. Cars causing congestion below 60th Street in Manhattan. Speeding in residential slow zones. Illegal guns. Illegal guns are banned in New York. True story. Sodium levels in processed foods. Trans fats in restaurants. Loud headphones. Styrofoam packaging for single-service food items. Sodas larger than 16 ounces. Collection of yard waste and grass clippings. Organic food waste in landfills. Commercial music over 45 decibels. Chain restaurant menus without calorie counts. The posting of signs in city-owned grassy areas, non-fuel efficient cabs. New cabs that are not Nissan NV200s. Greenhouse gas emissions. Government buildings that are not LEED certified. Non-hurricane-proof buildings in coastal areas. Black roofs. Construction cranes over 25 years old. Number 6 and number 4 heating oils. Less than 2-to-1 ratio of female and male bathrooms in new public buildings. Cell phones in schools. Ferrets. Plastic bags. Foie gras. This is the duck liver, whatever foie gras is. They just banned that last month. And last week, brand new ban, cashless retail stores. So if you own a store or a restaurant in New York and you don't want your employees handling a lot of cash, because of course they have a lot of issues with crime there, so you don't want people working at 9 o'clock at night with a drawer full of cash, someone coming in sticking a gun in their face, $1,000 fine. Plus it's forcing the people of New York to have to carry cash. They have banned your ability as a business owner to say, we're going to do plastic or we're going to do checks. Banned it. What this is rooted in the idea that if I don't like it, if I don't want it, if I don't believe in it, then nobody should have it. That's how they roll. If I don't want it, I don't like it, I don't believe in it, nobody should have it. And so, ban it. And they ban all kinds of things. There's been a big flap going on for the last 8 years about the Confederate flag. It's been banned across the country in all kinds of places. You know what? If I don't want a Confederate flag, if I don't like it, I don't need it, I don't believe in it, I just won't fly one. If you do like it and If you want to fly it, that's not my problem. That's not my issue. That's not my business. But that's not how liberals believe. If I don't like it, I don't want it, I don't believe it, I want it banned so nobody can have it. This began, this wave, in Texas. So in the state of Texas, for the last God knows how many decades, the teams have taken a knee and prayed before Friday night football games for safety and protection and all that stuff. Well, some mom didn't like the fact that they prayed to God on a football field that was built with public dollars, went to the ACLU and sued. So what a conservative does, if I don't want my child participating in prayer before the football game, I'll just withhold my child from the prayer. What a liberal does is sues so that nobody can pray. I don't like it, I don't want it, I don't believe in it, therefore it should be banned so nobody can have it. And that's why you see statues being removed from parks, and memorials and plaques being taken off walls, and all sorts of stuff being banned. Because if a liberal doesn't like it, if a liberal doesn't want it, if a liberal doesn't believe in it, get it banned so that nobody can do it. 6 things will happen when liberals are in rock solid control. Number 1, work with me here. Number 1, taxes go up. Number 2, things get banned. The third thing that happens when liberals have rock solid, unchecked power and control is we begin to see a massive separation of the economic classes. It always happens, everywhere. Massive separation of classes. What happens is the rich get rich, the poor get poor, and there is a middle class exodus. This always happens. Look around our country at the places where liberals have unchecked rule and control. I use San Francisco a lot as an example because it's inarguably the most liberal city in the country, and I used to live there. I know it very, very well. My master's degree is from the University of San Francisco. Hey, all right, another one.
It's a good Jesuit school.
A private Jesuit institution.
There you go, amen.
Just a few blocks from the Haight-Ashbury district. I could take you anywhere in San Francisco without a map or a GPS. I know the city very, very well. And in San Francisco, and in Chicago, and in New York City, and in every other liberal-dominated city, you have people so wealthy. I mean, I'm not talking millionaires. I'm talking people who are making $10, $20, $30 million a month. There's lots of them out there because of the tech boom, right? The tech industry. You have people who are living in 8-bedroom, 12-bathroom, 20,000 square foot homes. They drive to the end of their driveway, a sensor realizes the car's there and opens up the gate, and they pass through it in their $150,000 Aston Martin or Ferrari. 1 mile from the end of their driveway, there are people defecating on the sidewalk and then sleeping on that same sidewalk that night. The rich are very rich. The poor are very poor. And that's everywhere you have liberals in control. France, Germany, Italy, New York City, you name it. Under Barack Obama's presidency, the rich got very rich. The poor got very poor. According to CNN Money, this is from CNN, America added 1,000 new millionaires per day, or 1.1 million new millionaires in the first 3 years alone of Barack Obama's presidency. At the end of his presidency, the United States had the most number of households reporting a net worth of $5 million or more in U.S. history, and the largest number of households to report a net worth of $25 million or more. Also under Barack Obama's presidency, poverty levels in America broke a 50-year record, which is post-Depression, right? A lot of impoverished people went into Great Depression. According to the U.S. Census Bureau and the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics, the number of Americans living at or beneath the federal poverty line in 2009 stood at 43.6 million people when he took office. 2011, that had risen to 46.2. 2013, 46.5. 2014, 46.7. By 2015, Barack Obama's final year in office, complete calendar year, we were at 50 million Americans living at or beneath the federally defined poverty line, $12,400 a year in income. The number of American families on welfare assistance climbed every year during the Obama presidency, and SNAP Supplementary Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps, has swelled to 46,225,054. So nearly 47 million American families subsided on federal food stamps at the end of his presidency. Not at the beginning, when you could have blamed it all on Bush, but at the end. We had a record number of households worth $25 million or more. We had a record number of people that are living on food stamps and welfare. The rich get very rich under liberal rule. The poor get very poor. And you see a middle class exodus. California is hemorrhaging its middle class. Illinois is hemorrhaging its middle class. They're getting out as fast as they can. And I'll tell you why. In addition to having lived in California, I also lived in Chicago. I was born in Chicago. I have family in Chicago. And to this very day, the poor can't leave. So there are very, very poor people in Chicago. There are very, very rich people in Chicago. The Chicago Loop, the financial district downtown, you go down there and you see Ferraris going by all the time. Those people like the Duke brothers in Trading Spaces, right? They made a lot of money. But the poor, who are trapped in those poor neighborhoods, a lot of them majority black neighborhoods. I was born in Morgan Park, Illinois. I didn't see my first black person, the white person I think until I was 4 years old. The poor are stuck. So most of these things I'm talking about tonight, for the wealthy, they're a little more than petty annoyances. If you're rich, if you've got $60 million in the bank, it's a petty annoyance. Number one is they raise taxes. We were in California, my wife and my two kids here, summer of 2017. A couple summers ago, we had a chance to go back to California, to San Francisco, and see mom and dad's old stomping grounds before you were born and all that stuff, right? You do that with your kids. And I had to ran into a CVS pharmacy because we needed some saline solution, some toothpaste, a couple bottles of water, whatever. Ran into a CVS pharmacy, got up to the checkout stand, she rings up all my stuff, it's $14.15. Would you like me to put that in the bag for you? Yes, please. Hits another button, 5 cents gets added to the bill. I said, what? She said, yeah, the bags are 5 cents. I said, what are you talking about? She said, they've imposed a tax. Plastic bags are 5 cents. I said, take that off there, I'll carry it out. Right? I had a nickel. I refuse on principle alone to pay 5 cents for a doggone bag and carry it. Who does that more affect? Somebody with $60 million in the bank, or a struggling single mother of 3 just getting by on food stamps to have to pay another 75 cents to get her groceries home? They love it. So we were in California, and I realized that the separation of classes, when you're poor in inner city Chicago or in inner city San Francisco and you're getting by on food stamps and you have no money, moving is expensive. You've got to rent a truck, you've got to rent a U-Haul truck or a Ryder truck or whatever. If you don't have a credit card, you can't even do that because U-Haul is racist because you have to prove who you are to them. So you've got to rent a truck, that's $600 or $800. You've got to gas that thing up with enough gas to get to Colorado. Once you get to Colorado, you've got to find an apartment somewhere, put down a $2,000 deposit, pay your first and last month's rent, burn through your savings while you're looking for a job. The poor are trapped. The wealthy, it's just a petty annoyance. The middle class is an exodus. They get out because they can. When liberals rule unchecked, 6 things happen. Number 1 is taxes are going up. Number 2, things get banned. Number 3, massive separation of the classes. Number 4, the fourth thing that happens is whenever, and this one I can't even truly explain. I can tell you that it's true. Whenever liberals are in control, policies get enacted that enable society to intoxicate itself. Why that is, I honestly can't tell you, but it is the truth. Policies get enacted that enable society to intoxicate itself. When we moved to Colorado, my wife and I moved here in 2001, and the state was red trending purple. And of course, we know what's happened since that time. When we moved here, you could not buy alcoholic beverages at retail on Sunday. If you bought beer in a grocery store, it was 3.2 beer. Right? It wasn't full strength. There's a maximum alcohol content of 3.2%, whereas everybody else it could be up to 5 or whatever. Of course, we had no medical marijuana sales, let alone recreational marijuana sales. And now in Denver, they have decriminalized psychedelic mushrooms on top of that. All that's happened As we've gone blue, now you can buy booze on Sunday. As we've gone blue, now you can get full-strength beer. As we've gone blue, if you have a medical condition, you can get marijuana. As we've gone blue, if you just want to get baked, you can get marijuana. As we've gone blue, you can eat mushrooms, and it's not even against the law in certain liberal parts of our state. This happens everywhere liberals are in control. Laws get enacted that make it easier for society to intoxicate itself. If you look around the country at the places that are rapidly moving toward marijuana legalization, where is it? Illinois, Colorado, California, Oregon, Washington, the liberal bastions. There is no rush to legalize marijuana in Oklahoma. They are not in a hurry to get that enacted in North Dakota. Where you have red control, and listen, we're conservative Republicans. I enjoy a glass of wine as much as the next guy. Last night, my wife and I were in the lounge right over here. She had a glass of Chardonnay, I had a Scotch. I like it just as much as the next person. So I don't want to be a hypocrite. I'm just pointing out the truth. Now, I'm not going to roll up a blunt and burn that down out there. But liberals want you to be able to do that. They want you to be able to get stoned anywhere, anytime. Of course, that affects the school system, affects children, and everything else. 6 things happen when liberals are in control. Number 1, taxes are going up. Number 2, things get banned. Number 3, separation of youth and other classes. Number 4, policies enacted that enable intoxication, which leads to number 5. The 5th thing that is always going to happen when liberals have rock-solid, unchecked control is crime goes up. You look at the most crime-riddled parts of the country and world, it's where liberals control everything. It's getting completely out of control. And number 4 is part of the reason why you see number 5. So as you put policies in place that make it easier for people to intoxicate themselves, they need their drugs, or whatever it is they get high off of. Right? So you start enacting these clean needle injection sites, which you see in places like San Francisco and Seattle. We're gonna make sure it's safe for you to shoot up. You're gonna have a decriminalized area where you can get your heroin, or get your angel dust, or get your PCP, or get your black tar, or get your Molly, or get whatever it is that you get high on. Here's the thing. It may be safe for you to get stoned there. You may be able to get clean needles and therefore not have to run the risk of catching hepatitis or any of the other things that go on. But you still need your drugs, and they aren't free. The needles might be free, but you still need the heroin to put in it. And when you're a heroin addict, or when you're a junkie of whatever it is that you like to put into your body to get intoxicated, you are less employable. It's hard to hold down a job when you're hooked on meth. But you still need the meth. So how are you going to get it? Throw a brick through a window. Do whatever you need to do to get you some money to get you your drugs. When liberals are in control, crime goes up. And now what we have in the United States is a new wave of legislators and prosecutors who are woke. So I wrote a column about this, and for those of you that don't know, I'm a columnist. I write for Daily Caller, I write for CNS News, I write for American Thinker. You can look me up on a bunch of little different places, townhall.com, about this new wave of woke prosecutors. So we all know what's happened in the American university system over the last 30 years. They've taken over. And nowhere is it more prevalent than in American law schools, especially our elite law schools. If you're trying to get a job as a professor, as a teacher, at Harvard Law, or at Yale Law, or at Columbia Law, or any place like that, and in the process of vetting you, they look on your Facebook page and see a bunch of pro-Trump stuff, you might as well take your resume down to the 7-Eleven, because you will not be working at Yale Law. Well, now those people who have come up through that system and have all this nonsense drilled into them from the time they're 19 years old and they're freshmen, they're now moved into positions of power. They're now moving into positions of elected office. People like Barack Obama, Harvard Law, Eric Holder, Yale Law, Loretta Lynch. I mean, on and on it goes. These people are now working their way into elected offices, and these are some of the things that they believe. Rachel Rollins is the newly elected attorney in Suffolk County, Massachusetts, which is Boston. Rachel Collins, this is directly from her website and the Boston Globe. After the election, Rollins published to her website a list of changes that her office will not, Rollins published to her website a list of charges that her office will not be prosecuted, including larceny, shoplifting, drug possession with the intent to distribute, resisting arrest. She's just not going to prosecute those things. If you're in law enforcement, how does it make you feel to know that the criminals know that they are not going to be prosecuted for resisting arrest? So if you try to pinch someone, and they're a 4-time loser, they have no disincentive to take a swing at you, see if they can get you on the ground and run away. Because if they get caught, they're not going to get prosecuted for taking the swing anyway. Quote, this is directly from the Boston District Attorney's website. Quote, instead of prosecuting, these cases should be outright dismissed prior to arraignment or, where appropriate, diverted and treated as a civil infraction for which community service is satisfactory, end quote. The newly elected district attorney in Brooklyn, New York, Eric Gonzalez, was elected last election cycle. Mr. Gonzalez has introduced sweeping reforms via his, quote, Justice 2020 initiative. According to the district attorney's website, quote, Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez today announced his plan for a groundbreaking initiative to transform Brooklyn's justice system into a progressive model designed to keep Brooklyn safe and strengthen community trust by ensuring fairness and equal justice for all. Its first 2 pillars read, quote, considering non-jail resolutions at every juncture of a case, and establishing early release as the default position, end quote. Crime goes up when liberals run the show. California recently passed Proposition 47, the Reduced Penalties for Some Crimes Initiative. That's what it's called. The Reduced Penalties for Some Crimes Initiative. This is law in California. Offenses that were once felonies, including shoplifting, grand theft, receiving stolen property, forgery, fraud, and more, are recategorized as misdemeanors. The theft of property worth less than $950 is not prosecutable. That is law in California. $950 or less is not prosecutable. You literally have people in California, thieves, going into stores with a calculator. Okay, that drone is worth $600, that's worth $40, oh yeah, grab it all, run out the door. Run out the door. Because even if they're caught, as long as what they stole is not worth more than $950, they can't be prosecuted. When liberals run the show, crime goes up. It can't not go up. 6 things happen whenever liberals have unchecked, unquestioned power. Number 1, taxes go up. Number 2, things get banned. Number 3, separation of the economic classes. Number 4, gets easier to get baked. Number 5, crime goes up. And number 6, the 6th thing that will always happen when liberals have unchecked, unchallenged power is church attendance dwindles. Right. Church attendance dwindles. I can testify to this personally as a veteran of San Francisco. My wife and I both had jobs living and work. We lived and worked in Silicon Valley. And we were Christians. She led me to the Lord before we got married. We got married 26 years. And when people out there find out you go to church and you're a Christian, they look at you like you have 3 eyes. You believe that book full of made-up fairy tales? You waste an hour of your day every Sunday morning. They are hostile to the very idea that you choose to worship. I brought a couple of books with me tonight. If you've never seen or read them, I would recommend it. The first is The Conservative Heart by Arthur Brooks. I know Arthur. I'm an American Enterprise Institute Leadership Fellow. Incredible guy. This is an amazing book. And in this book, he offers a synopsis of the status of faith in Western Europe. Now, the nations of Western Europe have been highly liberal for most of my lifetime. 60, 70, 80 years in some cases. This is directly from this book, Conservative Heart, that I just showed you. Quote, the most diplomatic way to describe the status of religion in Europe is to describe the continent as post-Christian. Europeans may have some cultural memory of Christianity, but fewer and fewer practice, and many are openly hostile to their religious patrimony. A 2004 Gallup poll found that just 3% of Danes attend church at least once a week. Only 5% of Swedes and Finns do so. Weekly attendance at religious services is below 10% in France and Germany, and hovering between 10 and 15% in Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and the United Kingdom. One of the longest holdouts to this secularization sweep was the Roman Catholic Ireland. In 1984, 90% of Irish Catholics still made it to Mass every week. But inevitably, Ireland fell as well, and it fell hard. By 2011, that number had plummeted to just 18%. So Ireland went from 90% of its citizens attending weekly worship services to 18. So one might say, why is that? Another one of the American Enterprise Institute fellows, Tim Carney, wrote this book, Alienated America. It's fascinating. It's full of statistics. It's a geek book. I geek out on that stuff. It's not fun reading, but I love it. But it's a very fascinating book. And he describes a scene in 1991 in Chittenden County, Vermont. So in Chittenden County, Vermont, the United Way there, which is a very large, significantly strong chapter of the United Way, held a banquet, a fundraiser banquet. Invited speaker was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont, Bernie Sanders. In his speech to the United Way, he's speaking at a charitable institution. Mayor Sanders said, quote, "I don't believe in charity," end quote. Carney writes, Sanders rejected the, quote, "fundamental concepts on which charities are based." The New York Times at the time reported, quote, "Sanders has contended that government, rather than charity organizations, should take over responsibility for social programs," end quote. Big government and a thriving church are at odds with one another. They cannot coexist. And that's why, when you hear about the charitable givings of these people, so in 2017, Bernie Sanders and his wife earned $1.1 million. They gave 3.1% to charity. The year before that, he gave less than 1%. Somebody mentioned Beto O'Rourke earlier tonight. The O'Rourkes earned $370,412 in 2017. They gave $1,166 to charity, less than 0.5%. But it isn't that these people have black hearts. It's that they just don't believe in it. They simply, do you give, if you're not a Muslim, do you give to your local mosque? You probably don't. It isn't because you have a black heart, it's because you're not a believer. They simply don't believe in the church as a source of charity. They believe that government should fulfill that role. And what that ultimately means is that church attendance begins to dwindle, and here's why. The church used to be the source of 100% of charity in our communities in this country. We're going back a while here. We're talking a century and a half ago, but the church did it all. In every city in America, there is a hospital whose name begins with the word saint. Because it was the church that took care of the ill. It was the church who set up a wayward girls' home, a wayward boys' home, who took care of single mothers. It was the church who did all these things. It was the church that provided a place for people to come get food and shelter when it was cold and they had no money. The church used to do all these things in our country. The church was not only the source of charity, but it was the source of community. So those of you from smaller cities and towns especially, but even if you're from a big town, the church was a gathering place for the community, including for those people who did not necessarily worship at that church or at all. And the reason why is because the church ran charitable and nonprofit organizations. So the church ran the home for wayward boys. The church ran the orphanage. The church ran the soup lines that fed people, and all those things. The church had to pay for that somehow. And the way the church paid for it was through community outreach. They had spaghetti dinner. They had bake sale. They had the summer carnival, where you come to the carnival and you pay $1 for 3 baseballs and throw it in the tank. You try to dunk the pastor in the water. All those things were fundraisers for the church, and the church used those funds to fund its charitable outreach initiatives. But then government comes along and says, you don't feed the homeless. We'll take care of that. Okay, Bernie Sanders comes along and says, government, that's not your, church, that's not your role. That's the government's role. And the government started taking those things over. This happened to my wife and I in our church. We used to have a Feed the Homeless initiative where we go out to a park and feed people and share a tract with them about Jesus and pray with them and lay hands on, do all the stuff that Christians do. And then one day the government comes in and says, now you don't have a sneeze bomb to protect your food. You don't have a way of measuring to make sure the internal temperature of your meat is 160 degrees when it's served. All this stuff. And shut it down. Shut that outreach down. So the church, the government comes along to the church and says, we'll take care of that. We'll take care of those people. We'll provide abortion services instead of you counseling girls on what could happen if you have the baby. We'll do all that. So now, those outreaches that the church used to do to fund these things start getting canceled. So at the spaghetti dinner the church used to put on, you would go there with your family for $6 a person and sit down and have a spaghetti dinner. But at that spaghetti dinner, now you meet the Allstate insurance agent. And you find out that your coverage might not be adequate. And you meet the stockbroker. And you meet the third grade teacher who's going to have your kids next year. And you start making connections to the community. So people are coming to the church whether they worship there or not. But now, the church doesn't run the Wayward Girls home anymore because the government shut it down. So there's no need for the spaghetti dinner to fund something that no longer exists. So these things start getting canceled. And now, when you drive by the church on Wednesday nights, on Tuesday nights, on Saturday mornings, when the lights used to be on, and there was a bunch of people there doing whatever they do, the lights are off. And people stop coming there for the purposes of funding the church, which in turn funded the outreaches that the government now runs. And so now that the government is running those things, church attendance begins to dwindle. And that's why, especially in a lot of small towns in America, you go into service at 10 o'clock Sunday morning, there's 13 people. And if you go to Europe, there's 4. The church is it's on life support in many European nations. And that's why. Because the government took over functions that the church used to perform. Now, in the United States, under Barack Obama, we saw those first 5 things happening big time. The taxes go up under Obama. They put through the largest single tax increase in his known history of mankind, the Affordable Care Act. The things get banned, things got banned everywhere. He uses regulatory agencies to impose all kinds of things. The reason you walk into a delicatessen today and you see ham sandwich 610 calories is because they put through a mandate that says you cannot have a menu board without that data on it. And if you say you must do something, well then you ban its opposite, right? So non-calorie count menu boards have been banned. Taxes went up under Obama. Things got banned under Obama. I already went through with you the massive separation of classes under Obama. It got easier to get intoxicated. They started descheduling things at the federal level. We saw an incredible amount of crime going up under Obama. A lot of it made news. But that 6th one, that church attendance dwindling one, they didn't get that one. It was the church. It was the evangelical vote that came out in 2016 and said, enough. We are going to put somebody else in the office. It was the evangelicals that have been asleep at the wheel for 40 years who finally got a whiff of what it's like when liberals have unchecked rule, particularly the first 2 years of Obama's first term, when they had both houses of Congress. Poor people like Scott Tipton could only sit there and get frustrated, and they just cram through stuff, and they are passing bills in the middle of the night. You know what Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, that was actually a good name for it. You know when the Affordable Care Act got passed in the United States Senate? 10 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve. They just started going crazy, and they woke the church up. And the church said, you know what? This is nonsense. This is insanity. We need to get somebody in there who is going to lower and stop raising our taxes. If you have a penis, you are a man. If you don't, you are not. This is insanity. And the church, the evangelical vote in this country showed up in droves and gave us Donald J. Trump. And in November, we got to do it again. We're going to do it again. But you know, they say, if you see a bear sleeping, leave him sleep. But they don't know, they don't understand that principle. You give them a rope, they want to be a cowboy. You give them an inch, they want to take a mile. They always overreach. They overreached drastically. They thought Hillary was a shoo-in. A shoo-in, because they listened to themselves, they listened to the media, which is the same thing. And the church in America said, you know what, these first 5, they suck. But that last one, we're still here. We're still alive. We may have our issues in the church, and we do. But we recognize crazy when we see it. So we stamped it out. There are 6 things that always happen when liberals rule. Number 1 is taxes go up. Number 2 is things get banned. Number 3 is separation of classes. Number 4 is it's easier to get intoxicated. Number 5 is crime goes up. Number 6 is church attendance dwindles, but not here, not yet. Cabinet and Central Committee, I want to thank you for the time. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure.